98462, 87546, and 76624 were all trial engines for this fat-controlled railway. The other engines found them rude and unbearable, which is why they couldn't stand being around them. They were always awkward and condescending towards the other engines. The only engine they were nice to was Gordon. They kept trying to be kind around him, but Gordon saw straight through them and basically stayed out of their way. But the most selfish, insufferable one out of the three was 76624. He was selfish, greedy, and obnoxious, frequently trying to get his way, much to the annoyance of the other engines. But he didn't care. "My railway, my common water," he would usually sneer at them. 76624 was genuinely an arrogant engine who used to show off. Well, he'd always show off in a passenger train. But his arrogance usually would land him into trouble by the fat controller, and he would usually end up getting karma. The railway was getting lower and lower on coal, so Gordon and the bigger engines had to take on very little amount of coal, much to their annoyance. But of course, 76624 made it clear that he was the most annoyed out of all of them. "I don't get it," he moaned one day. "I'm probably the most hard-working red engine on this railway, yet I get an insufficient amount of coal and not that much water. This railway should be ashamed of itself," he grumbled. But everyone else just went about their duties, completely ignoring him. "Is anyone even listening to what I have to say?" he growled. He angrily watched Eagle back down into his passenger train, completely ignoring him. " 76624 seethed with fury as he left the station. Come on, he said to his coaches. On good time, they grumbled. A few days later, some new coal was brought to the railway. It was very different from the normal island of soda coal. It was blacker and smelt weird. The other engines complained that it smelt weird. "I don't want to take this coal," said Thomas, but he did it anyway, 'cause he had to. But the next day when he went to collect some coaches for another engine's train, he found it difficult to pull it. His wheels slipped, his face turned red, and the coaches felt heavier and heavier. Come on, he panted breathlessly. Pull harder, the coaches grumbled. "You're so heavy. Have you gotten fatter?" asked Thomas cheekily. "How dare you," said the coaches. Come on, Thomas groaned. But soon he ground to a halt, out of breath and out of strength. Poor Thomas was stranded with steam coming out of his cylinders, but he wasn't the only one. Engines all over Soda were overheating and covered with smoke, feeling ill. The others tried to warn 76624 about it, but he didn't listen. Huh, he boasted. I bet that you tube only broke down because of your little engines. You can't handle the strength of the coal. I bet it wouldn't happen to a big engine like me, he boasted rudely. Edward groaned and sighed. You know what, 76624, he said. Go on and try. I'm not even going to try to talk sense into you. You know what, said 76624. I will, just to prove you, old iron, wrong. He chortled while puffing proudly away. Even 98462 was fed up with 76624's ignorance. Soon 76624 entered the platform where his coaches were waiting. There he glanced over and saw 4 trucks full of coal. Well, the new coal, that is. An idea popped into 76624's funnel. Oh, driver, he said, wouldn't you want to make my passenger run as efficient as possible? Yeah, said the driver. Well, why don't you fill my tender up with that new coal so I can go as fast as I can with a very long distance so I wouldn't have to stop for coal and water at every station. That seems like a good idea, said the driver. Suspecting nothing, it was arranged. 76624 moved to the coal trucks and filled his tender up with all of the coal. When all the coal was gone, 76624 smirked to himself. I'll show old iron, he snickered, as he went to his coaches and backed onto them with a rude bump. Come on, he said proudly. All right, don't fuss, they grumbled. As soon as the guard blew his whistle, 76624 puffed proudly out of the station with his new coal. Suddenly, 76624 felt his boiler ache, and his pistons feel tired. I must be going too fast, he said, when suddenly his insides started to burst with steam and smoke. Suddenly he found himself going slower and slower and slower right in front of Henry's tunnel. He was letting off steam like anything. He was stuck. Suddenly, Eagle and Sir Topham Hatt came out of the tunnel next to 76624. Eagle couldn't help but laugh. Well, he said. Looked like we found the culprit who stole all the coal. He laughed. What's the matter, 76624? You look a little red. 76624 seized and blew steam at Eagle. Then out stepped Sir Topham Hatt. Well, 76624, he started, I can't say I'm proud about what you did because I'm not. I'm actually quite disappointed in you. But I hope you learn now that bad coal is bad coal and it could affect steam engines big and small. But what you did, he continued loftily, was very selfish, inconsiderate, and despicable. How could you take all of the coal when it was meant for all of the engines? You ought to feel ashamed of yourself, he continued. Yes, sir, said 76624 solemnly. But, however, Sir Topham Hatt continued. I should thank you, because I needed a way to get rid of all of that bad coal since new good coal is on the way. So, in a way, your greediness helped me, he said. He turned away laughing, leaving 76624 gobsmacked. Then suddenly, Eagle spoke up. It was alleged that you were greedy, was it? I think I finally found a name for you, 76624. Alid Greedy. The coaches, Sir Topham Hatt and Eagle all laughed, while 76624 seethed with fury and disappeared under a cloud of smoke. The Alid Greedy incident was all the other engines in the sheds could talk about. There was a whisper in the sheds. Hey, Alid Greedy, do you want to take my special freight train? It's full of coal, so you could be as greedy as you'd like. All the engines laughed except 98462 and 87546, who were as stiff as a board. Hopefully, this experience onward 76624 would now be a less selfish engine and would be less greedy about coal in the future.